It's prefatory to either a smaller, maybe I don't be sort of too banal, but it's prefatory to a small or medium-sized, or indeed larger operation.
So what do we know? We know it's getting on for past 7 o'clock in Lebanon time. What do you know has happened so far?
So we have had confirmation overnight from the IDF and the Israel Defense Forces that they are conducting operations inside southern Lebanon. They've said there's a limited operation, a limited ground operation. Other reporting leaks in American papers from American defense officials who are clearly being briefed by the Israelis on this say that Israeli special forces have gone over the borders and over the border and are trying to operate in Hezbollah's tunnel network to presumably destroy and prevent ambushers from those tunnel networks, presumably as a precursor to wider operations to try and clear Hezbollah out of that border area.
We saw those tanks massing on the border. This is not that, then. This is not the tanks rolling in. This is the special forces doing they're calling it a limited, localized, and targeted ground operation. What is there a distinction that we need to draw here?
Sure. Yeah. This is not. This is not yet what happened in Gaza or happened in 2006 in the same area of southern Lebanon. The tanks are there. They haven't rolled in yet. They may yet do. We don't quite know yet what the Israeli full plan is. We use a lot of these terms like full scale and escalation, and these are slightly cliched operations, cliched terms. The IDF have various plans, like any army would. They put together various plans to the political masters, and the political masters decide which one to go for. We don't know which one Netanyahu has decided to go for yet, whether he wants to actually send the tanks in and roll all the way up to the Litani River and reclaim the buffer zone that the Israelis occupied until 2000. Yeah, we don't quite know that yet. That does look like this is what you would do if that was what your plan was, though.
Really? So this looks like this would be a prefatory thing to do if you wanted to roll those tanks in.
Yeah, I mean, it's prefatory to either a smaller, maybe I don't be sort of too banal, but it's prefatory to a small or medium-sized or indeed larger operation. There's clearly no intent on this occasion by Israel, at least no apparent intent to do a 1982. We always look to previous operations for templates, if you like. In 1982, they went all the way to Beirut and actually sort of effectively took control of much of the country. Their rhetoric has always been about, in this occasion, about clearing Lebanon to the Litani River, which is goes across the southern, would create a sort of buffer zone, if you like.
But there is a version of events where their main aim is just to dismantle Hezbollah's capacity to fire rockets. And I suppose at the minute, what they're saying is that they can go and degrade military installations along the Israeli border. They take them out, and they don't need anything more political than that. That's the smallest level, I suppose, of operation, and one which would have raise the least concerns in the international community. The idea of going in, hitting military installations, and presumably then coming out again.
Yeah, I mean, they've already gone beyond that. I mean, they are bombing villages. They are bombing Beirut. They've dropped bombs on Beirut and other sort of the Hezbollah neighborhoods in Beirut, and they're bombing up in the Bekaa Valley as well. So there's more. They're already doing more than just that sort of very tactical operations on the border area, and they can't really. I mean, the big question is, once they've decided on this step, once they've decided to cross that Rubicon, if you like, to swap rivers for a minute, but go into southern Lebanon. It doesn't seem to me there's much point in doing that unless you're going to do something bigger, because the Hezbollah rocket sites are all over. They can the advantage of clearing the Litani River isn't that it gets rid of all Hezbollah's arsenal, but it does put the short-range missiles out of range. But of course, the short-range smaller missiles are easily, set upable again, and the Hezbollah arsenals are all over Lebanon. They're not just in the border area. So,
and then the border just moves back, presumably, and so they can be in a place where the Israelis are not and fire the rockets from there.
yeah, use their longer range rockets, but that is a deterrent to Hezbollah. You know, if they have to draw on their longer range missile arsenal, that is a tactical step up for Hezbollah beyond what it's already done, because you have to get to a higher level of combat if you're going to start using your precision guided missiles, your longer range missiles.
Um, if they do create a buffer zone, Richard, what does that mean in terms of how do you maintain a buffer zone? Is that an occupation? Is that they then own the land? They then assert rights to the land? What does buffer zone mean in practice?
This is the key question to me anyway, because it's linked to the key question in Gaza. You know, it's all very well going in and saying we're going to destroy the terrorist infrastructure, as Israel says, but what do you do then? You know, what's your long term plan? And nobody kind of sees the long term plan. We don't know what Israel's plan is for Gaza. We don't know what they're going to do there. Are they going to stay as an occupation force? Who's going to run the facilities and the services for the Palestinians? Is it going to be just another form of occupation of Palestinian territory? Ditto in Lebanon. Are they going to reoccupy southern Lebanon like they did between 1982 and 2000? And the conventional thinking is that didn't particularly end well for them. They just ended up with a angry population that could no longer be reconciled to the Israeli entity, the Zionist entity, as they call it, on the south. But on the other hand, what's the point in going in, causing huge amounts of death and destruction if we're just going to pull out again? The obvious solution is some sort of longer term political solution, but no one can see what Netanyahu is aiming for on that front either, because he says he doesn't trust Hezbollah and he doesn't trust any settlement that leaves Hezbollah in southern Lebanon.
And he's not listening to the US either. And he's not listening to the US either, Richard, is he?
The US keeps saying you have to have a political settlement, and Netanyahu says, "Well, we do the military thing first." But it's harder to see a situation where Israel can simply enforce terms on its neighbours in the way in a 1945 style ways. They will still be there, and they will still hate Israel, ever more.
It's difficult to know where this goes, but it's a fast-moving situation. Richard, ever so grateful for your thoughts as ever, explaining it for us. We will see what the day brings over the course of the next few hours. Thank you for joining us.